What's up, B Squad? It is your boy JB, and I am here today, you guys, with a late review for The Real Housewives of Miami. This is season 7, episode number 4, and the episode was titled Boogers and Birkins, you guys. Now, before we go ahead and get into it, if you guys are watching this video or any other video on the channel and you guys aren't subscribed yet, then I need you guys to do me a solid favor and stop taking me out on this date and then having me pay for it at the end of it. You guys know the routine. You can do me that favor by liking the video, you guys, subscribing to the channel, turning on your post notifications, and also by sharing the video. And with that out of the way, without further ado, let us go ahead and discuss this episode of The Real Housewives of Miami. Shall we? All right, guys. So tell me if you guys are watching the live or in the playback. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode of The Real Housewives of Miami. Overall, it was a good episode. What I will say is, Julia, ma'am, you're delusional. That's the one and only thing I can say for you in this episode is that you're delusional because, mama, you tried it. So let's get into it. So let's see. We didn't really have like a whole lot of individual scenes in this episode. So actually, you know what? Let me start up with Julia. Let's put Julia on the screen. So Julia. Now we see Julia and Martina as they are out, look like they're at the market shopping. And this is why I say that Julia is truly delusional. So Julia is talking to Martina about what happened between she and Gertie in the last episode, right? Now, what Julia is talking about is blowing my mind for multiple reasons. Because reason number one is blowing my mind is because Julia is sitting here and she is victimizing herself, right? She's saying that, she's trying to place all the blame on Gertie. And, she's trying to say that Gertie was coming after her family. And, she's talking about the fact that Gertie said, remember in last week's episode, Gertie said that Julia went to New York and got a facelift while Martina was going through her surgery or doing something, right? But Martina's like, I knew that if I needed you, that you would have been there. And Julia says that she was in Paris with her daughter, right? We also find out that Julia sent Gertie an apology text, but Gertie didn't respond to her. Ma'am, I wouldn't respond to you either. So it would be a big FUCKU. So then Julia really lost me when Julia is sitting here talking. So we find out that Julia has sat down with Alexia and Marisol. And Julia is so apologetic to Marisol and Alexia because she's embarrassed about what happened. But meanwhile, you sent a text message to Gertie. You didn't call her. You didn't ask her to meet up. Like, it's so weird to me when it comes to Julia and this Alexia and Marisol situation. Like, it's so weird to me. And then she's gonna get weirder in this episode to me as we get into it. Also, Julia, I'm so sorry. I don't care about you and this whole opera thing. I'm honestly over her and the opera. But that's really all we got with Julia. Now, let's move over to Gertie real quick. So with Gertie, it really wasn't much with Gertie in this episode. So we see Gertie, and Gertie has decorated, and I don't know if it was Halloween or what, but one of Gertie's sons, Liam, he likes skulls, so she's decorated the house. And I know that made her feel good to get back into, decorating, party planning, and all that stuff. So I'm not going to go too deep in on it, but I thought it was cute. But I also was like, I just want to understand what the purpose of it was. Was it his birthday? What were we celebrating? She never said that. So Gertie and Russell eventually sat down and talked about this whole situation with Julia, right? And Russell is saying that the thought of, Julia towering over Gertie and all this kind of stuff, it's the picture in his mind is very upsetting. And I was like, and it should be. It really should be upsetting. So then after that, Gertie just broke down. And I really felt bad for Gertie when she started crying, because Gertie's whole thing is she feels like Julia did this for the entertainment of the other women. And I was like, I can honestly see that. I really can. Because, like I've said numerous times before, I just don't understand. It's the weirdest thing. It's like, Julia, you are doing all of this stuff for girls who didn't necessarily see it for you. So I get where Gertie is coming from. It does appear that way to me. So I get her stance and I get where she's coming from, because it does look like, ma'am, you are doing all of this for the consumption of women who necessarily haven't been cool with you for the last 3 years. So I'm befuddled just as well as Gertie is as well. So that's really all we got with Gertie. So now we'll move on to Larsa. No, that's Julia. Okay. Larsa. So we got Larsa. Now Larsa is introducing us to the brand new housewife, Stephanie. Now they didn't really give an introduction to Stephanie, but we met Stephanie, and Stephanie is introduced by Larsa, who Larsa says that she met through Caroline Stanberry. We all know Stanberry from the Real Housewives of Dubai, Ladies of London. So we know who Stanberry is. Now, Stephanie says that she initially did not want to meet Larsa, but I guess she got to know Larsa and she got to like Larsa, right? So we see as Larsa and Stephanie are on Stephanie's private jet, and they are heading to Orlando to pick up her dogs. So her dogs are with her parents. I was like, okay, cool. I was like, so this is giving Dr. Nicole 2.0. Because now the difference between she and Dr. Nicole is, Anthony is an attorney. Well, Stephanie's husband is in real estate development. He has a company down there in Miami, and Larsa asked her, are they building anything new? She said, yeah, they are. So they did talk about Lisa, because I guess Lisa and Stephanie shares the same makeup artist. I believe that's what she said. One thing I will say about Stephanie, I realized in this episode, Stephanie talks a lot. Stephanie, the words just flow out of her mouth, which I'm not upset about, but hey. So we see as they do land in Miami, not Miami, but in Orlando. And like I said, she's picking up her dogs from her parents, which I was like, okay, here's the thing I will say, if you got the money, you got the money for that. So when they land, Marisol, she called up Larsa, and she's talking to Larsa because she found out some new information about what's her name, Alexia and Todd. I get that they want to help their friend and be there for their friend, but what I will say is, if your friend wants to sit there and continue to be the punching bag, the ex toy to Todd, let her. Like, I would let her, because it seems like Alexia likes the way that Todd is treating her, and I don't know why. Because we see a flashback scene where Alexia is telling the girls that she and Todd asked for an extension on a divorce. They need another 3 months to decide what they want to do. I was like, Alexia, why? This man, in no uncertain terms, told you what he wants. If somebody goes and files for a divorce from you, that person is telling you right off the rip what they want. They want a divorce from you. But you're being blind, you're being naive, you're being willfully obtuse to the fact that he doesn't want you. Like that's crazy as hell to me, but whatever. If like I said before, if Alexia likes it, I love it. So Marisol wants to get the girls together and have drinks. I was like, okay, what does that mean for Alexia? Like, are y'all trying to have a sister invention with her? Because I'm just not understanding it. Like I said, if Alexia likes the way that Todd is treating her, Alexia likes it, and there's nothing y'all can say or do that's really gonna change how Alexia feels. So good luck to you, ladies. Good luck to you. So after that, we see a scene with Larsa. Now, I will say I don't believe Larsa because we see Larsa, and Larsa is having a conversation with some guy that I guess was in Milan with them, and this guy saw the whole thing that happened with Lisa and with Larsa and Jody, and so he is recounting the same thing that Larsa said. And I was like, that's interesting because he says the exact same thing that you say. But hey, you guys will tell me if you believe Larsa, if you don't believe Larsa, and we can go ahead and we can move on to the next person, you guys. So next up, let's talk about Lisa. So we see Lisa, she's back in Miami. And so we see as Marisol as well as Alexia went over to Lisa's home, right? So Alexia was the last one to come. So Marisol and Lisa were talking about what happened at the party, but Marisol didn't want to get like too deep into it until uh, what's her name? Alexia got there, right? So when Alexia got there, they told Lisa about what Larsa said happened out there in Milan, and according to Lisa, Larsa is lying, and also I know the day of the episode airing, Lisa got on her social media and decided to address Larsa, about the whole loyal. It'll come up later in the episode, but loyalty thing, where she was basically saying, we haven't been friends for 15 years. We became friends 4 years ago. We've talked off and on over the years, but we really became friends like 4 years ago when the show came back. And she's not, so they haven't been friends for 15 years. She also said, you going to court, that was because you were subpoenaed to go to court. I was like, ooh, Lisa putting it all on the table. And I'm not mad at it because a lot of people have been saying, well, I mean, if she went to court for you, that does prove that she's your friend. Not necessarily. If somebody subpoenaed you, you ain't had no choice but to go to court. So Lisa ain't playing with her. Lisa is not playing with Larsa, right? So then we found out that somebody had told Lisa what happened at Marisol's party. And Lisa won't tell who the person was, which I respect that, right? But Lisa, girl, when I tell you you lost me, when you sat there and said that you text Larsa a picture of your deceased father, girl, I would have blocked you and cussed you out. Do not ever send no picture of a deceased person to my phone. Like, absolutely the fuck not. Like, I wish you would. I wish the fuck you would. But that's it for Lisa scene. So the next few scenes, you guys, are literally just going to be, they may as well be group scenes because it's nothing there. So we'll talk about Kiki real quickly. So we see Kiki. So Kiki and her daughter, they are going to the airport to pick up Kiki's father. Now, you guys remember in the last episode, Kiki and her mom were talking about her relationship or lack thereof with her father. And y'all heard my stance that I don't subscribe to that whole just because they're your parent, you have to, have them in your life. You have to respect them. I don't go along with that. Some people do, but I don't, right? So we see as Kiki picks up her dad, and her dad told her that she has a little brother. And she was like, a little brother, like, how old is he? The man said he's 3. I was like, sir, you know what? Never mind. I don't know why you want to have kids at your age, but hey, men do it, right? So then he's talking about her son and how he wants to see her son and get to know her son, but he didn't know that her son was in college. I was like, Kiki, this ain't it. Like, this man ain't really paying. Like, for him to say he wants to be in your son's life, he wants to get to know your son, but then in the same breath, he doesn't know that your son is in college. That would be a resounding no for me personally. Like, I couldn't do it, but it looks like Kiki's going to try to do it, and more power to Kiki, right? So the next scene that we have is this is supposed to be the meetup with Larsa, Alexia, Julia, Marisol, and even Stephanie's there, right? But they all meet up, and there was no Alexia. And I'm in agreement with Stephanie. My biggest pet peeve is somebody who's late. Now they're defending Alexia, saying that Alexia is never really late. I was like, okay, if that's what y'all want to say, cool. We also get a little bit of an introduction to Stephanie. So Stephanie met her husband when she was 26 years old and he was 50. And I was like, oh, okay, that's it's a big age gap, but I mean, it's not. Yeah, it's a big age gap because I will say, in my 20, like I was 22 and I was messing with someone who was 40, but neither here nor there, right? So the girls are talking about Alexia. And like I said, Alexia at this point is a no show. And so Alexia ended up texting, Marisol called Alexia up on the phone and she was like, something's not right because Alexia is not answering the phone. And so Alexia sent her a text message. And before she sent the text message, Larsha was like, she's probably with Todd. So Alexia sent the text message back saying, she has a huge migraine and that she's in bed. She wanted to meet up with them, but, she's just not feeling it. And both Marisol and Larsa both say, yeah, she's with Todd. Now, when we get to Julia's baby shower, the girls talked about it, and she said, "Oh, I wasn't with Todd." And she's even telling the producers she wasn't with Todd. Do I believe she wasn't with Todd? No, I do not. That lady was in bed with Todd, getting her back blown out. Again, if like I said before, if Alexia likes it, then it ain't nothing for me to do but to love it because I'm sorry. There's no way that I would let somebody play in my face like that. But again, it's her life. If that's what she wants to do, have at it. So then we get to Julia's baby shower. Now, Julia, what I will say to you is at this point, baby girl, your slip is really starting to show. And I'm going to explain why. So, Adriana is the one that put this baby shower together, right? So, Adriana is sitting directly next to Julia, which I would expect that I would expect that, right? But Adriana tells us that Julia had reached out to her and asked her to put Stephanie next to her. I was like, that's so weird. That's just as weird as you introducing your boys to Alexia over your best friend of over a decade. Yeah, I don't like people like Julia, like that move funny because you friends with somebody else that's, I guess you would say, more influence, more access to whatever. It's weird to me, right? So then, we see as Stephanie is talking to Alexia. So Alexia felt the way about what Stephanie said because Stephanie did say, she's not trying to overstep. Now, Stephanie, I will say, like I said earlier, you do talk too much. And this is the point where I was wishing you kind of would have shut up, but you didn't. Because Stephanie says to Alexia that when God takes out the garbage, don't go back for it, right? Don't go back and get in the garbage. And she's like, are you talking about Todd? And she said, yes. I said, oh, now again, that is overstepping. You don't know this woman from a can of paint. And for you to sit here and tell her, equate her husband to garbage, which he absolutely is. Oh, girl, you shouldn't have done that. So Alexia is offended that she did that. Now, am I mad that Alexia was offended by that? Honestly, no. Because again, Stephanie doesn't know her. So for you to come here with this unsolicited advice, yeah, no, man, I wouldn't have took it either, right? Now we do sit down and the girls, start to get into it. Not into it, but they get into the baby shower of it all. They try to, they do the diaper game. I would never do that unless it's candy in it. Unless it's candy in it, I wouldn't do it. But then also I can't do certain candy because if a candy got nuts in it, then I sure the hell can't eat it. But I don't know what they were doing. Ugh, because no. So we find out that the boys, Jackson and Luca, they are black. I was like, well, I be damn. So these are two little black boys. Okay, Julia. Er, this don't help your case. But whatever. So after that, after they did the game with the diapers, Adriana has this pail where they pull things out of it. And one of them, Julia pulled the first one, and it was like, um, I guess like who would you have a threesome with? Now Julia says she's never had a threesome, but then Martina was like, "Yes, you have." I was like, "Oh, okay." Something I didn't ask to know, but whatever. So then Julia says that she would have a threesome with Stephanie. I was like, "Say what? You don't even know this girl." I would expect you to say your best friend who I mean, y'all have all but implicated yourselves in that, but not your best friend, Adriana, not even Alexia, Marisol, nobody, but okay, Stephanie. Cool. We saw Kiki twerk. Then it was another one that Larsa pulled. Forgot what the question was. It's something about like what does she regret that she's done? And Larsa says that she wishes she wasn't so loyal to people. I said, Larsa, when have you been loyal to anybody? Because you ain't been loyal. You weren't loyal to Gertie last season when you went and told the ladies about her cancer diagnosis. Like you're not a loyal person, Gertie. I mean, not Gertie, but Larsa. You're not a loyal person. But hey, if that's what you got to say to make yourself feel better, then cool. Do what you want to do, right? So somehow the whole Lisa thing came up, and I forgot how it came up, but the whole Lisa, but it came up, I think, because of this conversation about loyalty. So Lisa got upset and she left and she went to the bath. She and Kiki went to the bathroom, right? And so Lisa's like, I'm having a whole lot of issues with that one right there, talking about Larsa. And so Lisa came back to the table, and they all know that Lisa knows what happened at Marisol's party. So they want to get down to the bottom of who told Lisa. Adriana saying no, let's not get into that. Kiki mentioned it, but then said let's not get into it. And I'm like, well, why did you bring it up? And then Julia decides to ask, well, who told you this? I was like, what is it gonna accomplish if y'all find out who told Lisa? What are y'all gonna do from there? So Kiki was like, well, Marisol, I thought it was you initially. And Marisol was like, hell, I thought it was you. And so Kiki decides to let us know, and the girls know, that she went out to lunch with Gertie, and Gertie let it be known that it was her. Now, what I will say is I love the fact that Alexia said, well, you did talk about her. And y'all know I'm not a big fan of Alexia, but Alexia said, but you did talk about her. So Lisa got really upset. And she, because I mean, we're talking about her dad here, and her dad has only been dead a week at this point. So of course she's gonna be upset. And so that's really where the episode ended, you guys. So let me know what you guys thought about it down in the comments section below. Subscribe to the channel, you guys. Turn on your post notifications, and also share the video, you guys. Until the next time, please stay safe out there. Take care of yourselves. Wash your hands. Be blessed. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Now, next week with the panel, we will be back and we'll discuss episode 4 and episode 5. And that will be on Really B's channel, you guys. So until then, I'll see you guys later. Bye, y'all.